Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've kind of hinted at in my last video about Italki, and that is a 3-week Italki intensive that me and one of the online professors came up with for my final 3 weeks in Australia before I moved to France. In my previous video talking about Italki, I mentioned how you can have professional teachers and community teachers, and one of the major differences aside from price is the fact that professional teachers actually come up with programs if you want them to. What happened with me is I decided, okay, I'm doing 1 hour classes a day every single day with Lingoda. I've improved so much with doing this, so I wanted to essentially double that for my last 3 weeks before France. So coming into this, my plan was kind of like, okay, find a whole bunch of teachers that I like, message all of them asking if they'll do a 1 hour class with me every single day for 3 weeks. And I thought I'd actually get a lot of people interested because that's a lot of money, like 1 hour class every single day for 3 weeks. But to my surprise, there was only a couple people who actually were interested, and obviously that is because they already have students and they can't just slot in someone every single day, and it is a big commitment as well. So like I said, I originally contacted quite a few teachers, probably 10 in total, and I came back with only a couple, maybe 1, 2 or 3 that were interested. But luckily, and I'm so grateful she responded to me, I found a really amazing professor. But I don't know if I just got really lucky or if this kind of coming up with a schedule and a plan or an intensive by yourself with a professor on Italki is just a really good idea. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what actually I did for those 3 weeks, the materials my professor gave me, how much it cost, how much I think it helped improve my French, and if I would suggest that you do something like this if you're confident enough setting up a schedule for yourself. So like I said, it was actually quite difficult to find a teacher to dedicate 1 hour a day to me every single day. And even the teacher that I did find, who I ended up really liking and choosing, she had to add in a class outside of her regular Italki schedule just for me because she lives in France and she only does Italki classes in her afternoon, nighttime. So she had to add one in for her morning time so that I could be able to do that, because as you know, Australia and France are pretty far away from each other. In fact, Australia is 10 hours ahead of France. Another reason I decided to go with this kind of Italki bulk buy of classes is because a lot of teachers actually have a big discount if you buy classes in bulk. So instead of just buying one at a time of this woman's classes, it would have been $25 per hour or $27 per hour. And if I bought 10 classes like in a bundle, it took it down to $20. So obviously $20 USD an hour is quite expensive, and you can obviously get cheaper community teachers on Italki, and that's what I talked about in my last video. But as I'll show you in this video, there are obvious and clear reasons why one would choose a professional teacher, and then providing material for you and things like that is just one of those benefits. Before I actually went ahead and just straight away booked 3 weeks worth of classes, of course I wanted to see if I actually liked this person. And in this period of time, I still had my Italki, what are they called? Trials. I think they're called trials, where you have to pay very little to get a trial class with someone. This is when I still had those 3 trials. So of the other people that responded to me saying that they would be able to have me for 1 hour a day, I had trials with them as well, and it turned out this girl was the one that I liked the best out of those 3 or so people. And after that, I decided to book a couple more classes. I think I bought a bundle, and then I had 1 class a week with her for about 3 weeks before the 3-week intensive. And I guess that was just so I could get more comfortable with her teaching style before we went like full into the 3 weeks. So I've talked about pricing, and I've talked about kind of the concept behind my plan, why I wanted to do it. Lingoda was a big influence on this because I could see just how much doing the 1 hour a day will improve. And also, unlike Lingoda, obviously Italki classes are one-on-one, and there was a few instances where with Lingoda I would be the only student in the group class, and it was just so much more beneficial to be the only student. After I had my first few lessons with this teacher, I sent her a shared Google Doc of a kind of plan that I wanted to do over this 3 weeks. Not only what I would be doing in the Italki class, but my full day plan, because during that time I was still doing Lingoda. I occasionally had another Italki class with just a community teacher who was only like $10 an hour, and also just my own homework and study. So I sent her this plan, and from that she could kind of build off how she wanted to structure the lessons and also what kind of homework she would give me. And another great thing is in every lesson or after each week, she would always ask me, okay, is there anything you want to focus on? Is there anything that you would like to do in the following week? And I would mention a few things like very vaguely, and I would not think that she would understand what I'm talking about, or that she would just come up with totally something different. But I always found that she'd actually incorporated little things that I mentioned throughout the week that I am like, oh, I'm struggling so much with this, or I really hate this aspect of this piece of grammar. And I would find it somewhere stuck in one of the next week's homework, which I found really cool because it just showed how much attention she was actually paying to my struggles that I was having. Also, with the plan that I originally came up, it's safe to say that I didn't actually do as much French as I was going to. I was being extremely optimistic. Although I did mention to her some things that I wanted to focus on, like pronunciation and several other types of things, she still managed to come up with a massive plan just from what she had taken from our once a week lessons before the 3-week intensive. So I thought I'd go over that plan with you guys. I think you'll find it really interesting because when she sent me the first week of what we were going to be focusing on, I was seriously shocked about how much effort she'd put into this, because you know, when you're paying for classes, you only think about, okay, I'm paying for that 1 hour class. You don't think about the effort that's put in outside of it. And originally I was like, okay, 20 USD an hour, that's so expensive. And then after receiving how well she structured and formatted everything, and I could tell it was tailored to me and it wasn't just copy paste, I was like, okay, yes, I'm comfortable paying that much because she's obviously paying attention to what I'm struggling with. As you can see, there's 4 folders in here, and she actually sent 1 week at a time of material and what we'd be studying, and she would send it the night before the Monday, and that's kind of how it would work. So you can see here the bottom 3 is what she sent me, and the top one is actually just a I'll show you, it's pictures of a book that I wanted to read with her because I wanted to practice my pronunciation. And instead of being a normal person and just finding text online, I have this book that I really like with lots of short stories, and I just sent her really dodgy iPhone pictures of what the book looks like. So she used this to look at while I was reading the book in person. So I'll show you the first week of material that she sent me, and this is just before we had started the 3 weeks, but we'd already had about 3 or 4 lessons in total together over the past month. So she had a good idea of my comprehension at that point. Material for the first week, you can see here she has labeled every single day, and this is kind of how she laid it out, at least for the first and second week. And also you can see here there are these cartes conversation, and these were just to come up with questions in different tenses for us to initiate conversation, because as you all know, practicing tenses is really important, and without like prompts it can actually be quite difficult to start a conversation. So usually, even in Lingoda, they will ask you questions like, oh, what was something you did when you were a kid, so that it forces you to talk in the past tense, or what are you going to be doing tomorrow, and then it forces you to talk in the future tense. So the other thing that's here is called Dictation, and these are MP4s of someone talking or someone reading, and I would have to listen and type out exactly what they're saying. And I made a point to not cheat when I was doing this. I won't show you all of these because you'll get kind of bored if I just sit here and go through 7 days worth of stuff. But on the 30th of November, you can see there was kind of 3 things on each, I guess, day. And this is how most of them are structured. It actually gets a bit more advanced as the weeks go on. Like, I feel like she put a bit more effort as time went on as well. And you can see that there's 10 minutes of pronunciation, which was essentially me reading that book that I sent her. And then there was practicing passé composé and imparfait with the cards that she had sent. And for my homework, I had to write about talking about the last time that I was in Belfort, and also using the expressions that she has there for me as well. I'll show you another day just to give a little bit more context. So let's look at the 2nd of December. Here you can see again pronunciation. It was either for the first week pronunciation or correction of my homework the night before, and that was the first 10 minutes of each class. And then it was usually practicing speaking practice of a tense. And these tenses, imparfait, passé composé, future proche, things like that are tenses that I actually told her that I was wanting to practice. So I told her this before this week and she managed to put it in for me. So that's really great. And for the homework, she even managed to put in common uses of the tense that I told her I wanted to practice. So that was week 1. At the end of week 1, I was feeling really good and so far loving it. So I'll show you the next week, and as you can see here, there is a lot more stuff. You have the days like the 10th, the 13th of December, 7th, 8th, whatever. And then you also have more conversation cards. Here you have the conditional. And like I said, these are just to prompt conversation, and same with the other ones. And here, yeah, we just have some more usage of conversation. And you'll see when you look at the days that it'll reference which PDF we'll be looking at that day. So each of these PDFs we looked at on different days. And she sent me some helpful lists as well. Like here, she sent me lists of subjunctives. So this was also really considerate as well that she sent me stuff like this, because I specifically told her that I was struggling really hard with subjunctive and irregular passé composé, and she sent me a list of both of these. Also, there is this verbs with passé composé with être, because like I said with passé composé, not only was I struggling with the irregular, but also the passé composé where you use être as the past participle or whatever the hell it's called. So these were all quite useful, and then I'll open up one of the days so you can have a look as well. Similar to the first week, it was correcting homework for the first 10 minutes, and then after it was practicing different tenses. And I'd specifically told her that I wanted to practice a lot of tenses because that was where I was struggling with the most. The only thing that was massively different is she sent me more homework that was watching something or reading something. I'll click this link and I'll show you one of the things. As you guys know, I'm a big lover of grammar tests because they are really, really helpful for your comprehension. I'll just show you a few more things that she created for me for week 2 and a few different days to give you guys an idea of what exactly we did. So next I'll talk about the third week, which is the last week. And for this one, instead of sending me several different Word documents, she put it all into one. She was probably getting sick of saving 7 different Word documents, I imagine. So as you can see, this is all just in one document, and it just has, you know, the different days as well as what topic we'd talk about. For the last week, we decided that we're just going to do mostly conversation practice and not assessing homework or doing pronunciation reading practice. So this is solely for communication at this point and practicing my talking and listening, because obviously moving to France, writing and reading and all that is really great, but conversation is obviously the most important thing moving to another country. So as you can see, each day had a different topic as well as a URL to a different news article or a different video talking about a subject of something happening in France or something about France. So it was kind of like nice. It was a bit cultural as well. There was a lot of different things talking about like the protests in France, the different types of cheese in France, and it was a little bit of nice culture alongside conversation. So there would usually be a video for me to listen to as well as some text for me to read, and then the following day we would usually discuss that and my thoughts on it and her thoughts on it, and yeah, how we felt about it. So as you can see, there are also 3 audio files, and these are what I mentioned earlier, where it was someone speaking and I would have to type out exactly what they're saying. I found this actually really good because I could pick up little bits where I wasn't quite catching my comprehension when it comes to listening, and I was able to identify those issues. I'll actually open one and let you guys listen to one so you can kind of understand about what I had to listen to.
La maison de mes rêves, qu'elle soit grande ou petite, cela n'a pas d'importance pour moi. Je voudrais juste qu'il y fasse bon vivre.
So yeah, you get the idea. And doing this, I would just write it down either on pen and paper or just on my notes. Okay, so enough talking about all the plans. I hope that wasn't boring for you guys, and I hope you actually found it interesting. And I wanted to just talk about whether I think it's worth it and if you guys should do something like this. I guess doing something like this would be good for someone who knows what they want to focus on. And of course, you don't have to know 100%. They are a certified teacher, so you can ask them, okay, this is my level, what do you think I should focus on next? And another thing that I would keep an eye out is make sure that you find someone that you actually like before you buy a whole bunch of classes with them, because if you're like me, you'll want to buy classes in bulk to save money, of course, but it's really important to find out if you like that teacher first. So try to utilize those 3 trials that Italki give you at the start of when you first make your account. I personally found it helped a lot with my conversational practice. All in all, I just wanted to share my experience with doing an Italki intensive with you guys in case you wanted to do something like that. And if you do want to try out Italki, I'll leave my referral link in the description, and this will just both give us free stuff, and who doesn't love free stuff? So check that out. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope my experience gave some kind of value to you guys if you wanted to try something like this, and I'll see you in my next video.